If your mortgage application has been declined by your bank or by your mortgage broker, or maybe you've just talked yourself out of being able to get a mortgage because you've been listening to well intentioned friends and family members or the guy at the barber shop, I have some good news for you. I'm going to explain to you what a specialist lender is, how they can help you if you're an expat, if you've had some credit issues in the past. If you just don't think you can get a mortgage, a specialist mortgage lender might be the solution. So today we're going to talk about specialist mortgage lenders. What is a specialist mortgage lender? Why do they exist? And how can they help you? Make sure that you watch all the way until the end because all of the criteria is going to be needed and needs to be understood in order to understand what specialist lender is best for you. My name is Anthony Lindsay and I've been in finance for over 30 years. I make these videos that I can give you information and you can make an informed choice. You can understand how finance and mortgages work. These videos are not intended to give financial or legal advice, and they should never be used as a substitution to speaking to a qualified broker who knows your and understands what you're looking to accomplish and will put your best interest first. So, what is a specialist lender? A specialist lender is a lender who can help you if you're an expat, if you're a contract worker, you've been self employed for less than 3 years, or if you have credit issues. Those aren't the only ways that a specialist lender will be able to help you, but those are some of the things that we'll be covering off today. So, the definition of a specialist lender is a specialist mortgage lender is a financial institution that provides mortgages to individuals whose circumstances don't align with standard lending criteria of traditional high street banks. These lenders offer more flexibility and may consider factors like poor credit history, unique income situations, or other complexities that other high street lenders may not accommodate. Now, in plain English, it just means that specialist lenders tend to have manual underwriting. It means that they look at each case by case, and they consider if it meets their criteria. High street banks are fantastic. I've been a bank manager at several banks, both in the US and the UK. But each bank is going to have different criteria and a different customer base that they're going after. There are some high street banks that are fantastic if you are a first time buyer and you want a higher income multiple. There are others that are great if you aren't currently working, but you have a offer to start a job. The thing about going to a broker is you get the best of all worlds. When you go directly to your bank, the bank can only talk to you about their products. Whereas when you go to a broker, they can talk to you about a range of products. That means you get all the criteria from all the different lenders all in one place. Plus, you get the one on one attention of a broker. Being a broker is very much a relationship business. So, your broker is going to do their very best to find you the best products that you can refer them to other people. Specialist lenders exist to help people that may have been turned down by their bank. Your broker can only help you if you're open and honest with them. So make sure you find a broker that you trust, someone that's been referred to you by someone that has used them recently. Quite often, people may go on Google and find a broker. Nothing wrong with that. I'm there, and that's how some people find me. But the reason why I make these videos is that people can get to understand what the products are, get to know me, and hopefully, by the time they get to me, they see that I'm someone that's professional, I'm knowledgeable, and I will always put them first. So let's talk about mortgages for expats. Mortgages for expats. An expat mortgage used by UK nationals living abroad to purchase UK property. Generally, it's going to require a larger deposit, about 25% or more, compared to standard mortgages. Lenders also consider factors like the income stability. So, how are you being paid? Your credit history. You should ideally have some ties to the UK still. and the country of residence, because some countries are higher risk countries than other. Usually you can look at the GDP of a country to kind of assess the risk. So the countries like the US, the UK, Europe, parts of the European Union are probably going to be more acceptable to lenders than others. There's a lot of countries in Africa that are considered high risk, but that won't rule you out. So make sure that if you are an expat, when you're speaking to your mortgage broker, you're establishing a few things. Do you have a UK passport? So do you still currently have a UK passport? Are you a dual citizen? Do you still have ties to the UK? So I've done lots of remortgages for people that were living in the UK, have gone back home or moved abroad or are working abroad, and they're doing a remortgage. So they still have a tie to the UK with that property. They still have a UK bank account, which is where the rent goes. They still have a credit report. So this leads into, is it a first mortgage or is it a remortgage? Have you purchased a property in the past? These are some of the things that the lender's going to want to know when they're looking at an expat mortgage. And finally, what currency are you paid in? If a lender is giving you a mortgage, they need to know how you're going to repay. It's a bit different if it is a buy to let property, because the subject property is what's going to generate the income. However, if you're buying a property in the UK and it's going to be reliant on your income, or if you're remortgaging and it's going to be reliant on your income, the bank is going to need to know how much you get paid, how regularly you're paid, what currency you're paid in. And because currency exchange rates can fluctuate, they may have to do various calculations. So it may convert into a high pound amount, but based on the conversion rates at the time, the bank may need to lower that or put a percentage decrease in there, because currency can be unstable. So if you're looking for an expat mortgage, make sure you speak to a broker, make sure you understand the criteria, and a specialist lender may be your best bet. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment. And if there's a particular topic or subject that you'd like for me to discuss, make sure you reach out to me. Mortgages for contractors. There are a lot of people that find it more lucrative to work as a contract worker than a full-time employee. The benefits that you can make in your pocket sometimes do hit you when you are trying to get a mortgage. As a contractor, you might find it a little bit more difficult getting a mortgage, especially from the high street lenders. This is where a specialist mortgage lender comes in. This is where they can help. Quite often, what they're going to need to see is a minimum 12 months track record of contracting. So if this is your very first contract, you may struggle, but a specialist lender can still help you. A few mortgage lenders can consider day one contractors with relevant industry experience in previous employed role. So that means if you previously were working as a project manager and then you've decided to go into contracting, but for the past previous 5 years you were full-time employed as a project manager, then they will consider that. This is why when you speak to your broker, you need to have your contracts prepared. You need to have at least your last 5 years history prepared, that they can ask you the questions and you can answer the relevant questions. The current fixed term contract needs to have at least 3 months left to run. Some banks and building societies require 6 months. Some lenders will lend to contractors when they're out of contract if they have a new contract starting within the next couple of months. Every aspect of getting a mortgage is very unique. So there's not one criteria that will cover everyone in every circumstance. This is why speaking to a knowledgeable broker in advance of your need is advisable. I also would say if you are considering going into contracting, what you want to do is consider what that will look like when you go to remortgage or when you go to get a mortgage. So think about these things in advance. As I always say, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. More about mortgages for contractors. The things that you are going to want to consider: are you paid through an umbrella company? What does your contract actually say? How long do you have left on your contract? And are you currently between contracts? I'll drill down a little bit on the umbrella company situation. If you are paid through an umbrella company, it will limit the lenders that will actually lend. There will be a specialist lender that will lend, but it will limit the lenders that will lend. Some lenders will not lend to contractors if they're paid through an umbrella company. And just as a word of advice, if you are paid through an umbrella company, because of all of the stories I've been reading about some umbrella companies that aren't actually set up correctly, make sure you review your umbrella company and understand and make sure that they are paying the correct taxes for you, etc. If you're not sure, please, please, please check. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure that you share feedback because I make these videos that individuals can make informed choices. These videos are not designed to replace speaking to a licensed broker who understands your individual circumstances. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just talking you through different scenarios and each scenario will be different. So make sure you speak to a licensed broker. Have you been self-employed for less than 3 years and found it difficult to get a mortgage? I've helped lots of self-employed people who have less than 3 years of SA302 and less than 3 years tax overview. So let's first understand the self-employed under 3 years. For self-employed individuals seeking a mortgage, lenders typically require evidence of stable and sufficient income over a period of time, usually 2 to 3 years, to assess affordability. But as I said, I can help you even if you have just 1 year. This often includes providing certified accounts, SA302 forms, and tax year overviews from HMRC. Lenders also consider factors like deposit size, credit score, and the nature of the business when assessing self-employed mortgage applications. As a self-employed person, you might find it a little bit more challenging getting a mortgage, especially if you go directly to the high street bank. This is where a specialist lender fits perfectly. Even if you have just 1 year's SA302 and tax overviews, in most cases, I'll be able to get you a mortgage. It's very rare that I can't get somebody a mortgage. It may be that I can't get them the mortgage for the amount that they're looking for, which is very different than not being able to get a mortgage. As a self-employed person, a few things that you're going to want to make sure. Remember, if it isn't documented, it did not happen. So be very careful when you're speaking to an accountant or hiring an accountant to make sure that all of the money that you're making is properly accounted for and that you're paying the appropriate taxes. These tax efficient schemes quite often come back and bite you when you're trying to get a mortgage. Because if you're just saying on your tax returns that you made X amount, but you actually made more, 9 times out of 10, when you come to get your mortgage, you're going to tell me about the more, but there's no way of evidencing that. So you want to consider, do you have at least 1 year's SA302 and tax overview? Do you have a separate business account? When I was a bank manager, I'd see this all the time. People would use their personal bank account for business purposes. Not only is that a violation of the terms and conditions of a personal bank account, it's not going to help you when you come to get a mortgage. Don't commingle your personal finances and your business expenses. It makes it a lot harder for your accountant, which means you may end up paying more. But it also means that when you go to get a mortgage and you're asked to produce those business statements, it can trigger a lot more questions. So if you're considering going self-employed and you know that you're either going to be remortgaging or mortgaging, make sure you think about what it will look like at the time of application. As a self-employed person, you may consider hiring an accountant that can give you this advice. The information I'm giving is not legal advice and it's not accounting advice. It's just some guidelines to ensure that when you're ready to get a mortgage, you'll get the best product for you. And as far as accountants, as I said, just be very careful. Get an accountant who always operates within the law, not someone that gets as close to the edge as possible. because quite often you're the one that will suffer when you go to get a mortgage. So ask questions, make sure you have an accountant that you trust, someone that's been referred to you by someone that you know and has used them or is currently using them. I get a lot of mortgage referrals from accountants because accountants often are dealing with self employed people that might be finding it difficult to get a mortgage. That's where I come in. So, if you're an accountant and you need a really reliable broker to refer business to, let me know. Or if you're just an individual looking for an accountant, I have a vast network of solid accountants who specialize in various types of business. So if you're self-employed for less than 3 years, you don't have to stress. You can still get a mortgage, and a specialist lender may be your best bet. So here are some of the things that a specialist lender or specialist mortgage lender can help you with. They can help you with a variety of things. Everything on this list does not cover off everything they can do, but some of the key things they can do. They can help you if you have a non-UK passport. Not every lender will lend if you have a non-UK passport. They'll help you if you have credit issues or have had credit issues in the past. If you've had a repossession, you may have thought that there's no way you can get a mortgage, but you can get a mortgage under certain circumstances. One of the things to consider about a specialist lender is quite often the interest rate might be a little bit higher and there may be some upfront fees. So make sure you do your due diligence, make sure you read all of the documents, make sure that you ask your mortgage broker questions, that you fully understand the product and what it's going to do for you. If you have a skilled worker visa, specialist lenders are there. There are a lot of high street lenders that will do mortgages for skilled worker visas. But if you have a low deposit, like you have maybe just 6% or just 10%, then you may need to go to a specialist lender that can help you get on the property ladder. There are some cases where the situation is just hard to explain. So clients will call me and they've been declined by their bank, and when I ask them why, it's a 15 or 20-minute story. It's quite complex. There's a lot of moving parts. This is why specialist lenders exist. They're there that you can tell me the story. I can assess it, get the evidence and documentation to verify what you're saying, and then find the right lender for you. You can waste a lot of time and a lot of money Googling, filling in forms that then put you on these mailing lists, and you end up with 1,000 credit searches. Our process is very different. You'll come to us, we'll talk you through what is needed, we'll find a lender without doing any credit checks, without filling out any applications at that point. We'll just do a fact find. So we'll be able to understand what your circumstances are. We have business development managers that we work with that we can call, talk through the scenario, and we'll find the lender that is willing to lend to you. As I said, it's very rare that I can't get someone a mortgage. I may not be able to get the amount that someone wants, but sometimes there are other solutions like joint borrower, sole proprietor. You may consider shared ownership. There are always solutions if you're open and honest with your mortgage broker. I'm here to give you information, but the information I give you is not designed to replace you speaking to someone one-on-one that they can understand your circumstances and give you the best product based on your needs and desires. So how do you prepare? If you are looking to get any kind of mortgage, but more importantly, a mortgage with a specialist lender, this is what you want to do. Review your employment contract. So if you're a contractor, if you're full-time employed, or if you're self-employed, understand what you will be classed as at the time of application. Tidy up your bank statement. I can't say this enough. Make sure that your bank statement reflects what is actually happening. If you're having random people pay into your account, or if you're gambling, or all of the things that regular human beings do, make sure that as you are looking at your bank statement, everything on there can be explained and everything is reflective of who you say you are. If you work at McDonald's and you have £7,000 going into your account every month, that's going to raise some alarms. Check your credit report. Check your credit report at least once a year. Go to checkmyfile.com. I would suggest checking your credit report at least twice a year. Checking it once a year is great, but checking it twice a year is going to make sure that you're ready at any point to get a mortgage. Maximize your deposit. When I say maximize your deposit, what I mean is a lot of people don't realize that an average current account probably is not going to give you the type of interest that a online account will give you. If you're an older person like me, some people don't actually want to do online accounts. They want to be able to walk into a branch. When I was a branch manager, there were some older customers who just once a month just wanted to come in and chat, go through their account. I understand that. But if you're saving for a home, every penny counts, and going online might yield you a much higher interest rate. I'm not giving tax advice, and I'm also not giving accounting advice. So make sure you understand the implications of interest earned. But I am saying that going online, you'll probably get a better rate. I would recommend going to Money Savings Expert, moneysavingsexpert.com. The information will be in the link. And then just do your research, do your due diligence. And the key thing is speak to a mortgage broker at least 6 months before you think you're ready. At least 6 months before you think you're ready. This is because a lot of the things that you'll need to do to prepare for a mortgage may take time to do. So, what you're going to want to do is have the conversation with a mortgage broker. They can give you some guidelines. They can probably give you a relative illustration of what you could get now versus if you tidied up these things, if you need to tidy them up. They can look at your employment contract, look at your bank statement. They can make sure that when you're ready to apply, you have the best chance of getting the very best mortgage. It may even mean that you don't need to use a specialist lender. But either way, speak to a mortgage broker in advance and make sure that you're open and honest with them, that they can understand your circumstances. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I've been in finance for over 30 years. I've done debt collection, I've done lending, and I've done wealth management. So, as a broker, you're not just getting someone that's going to try to get you a mortgage, you're getting someone who's going to partner with you to get the best product based on your circumstances. I'll also protect you from yourself. One of the things that I find quite regularly is someone is so eager to get on the property ladder that they'll often make bad decisions. There are countless times where I've had to talk to a client and say, just because you qualify on paper, it doesn't mean that this is the right thing for you. There's countless times where I've given that advice and they've gone to another broker, and that's fine. I'm here to make sure that I give you the best advice, that I'm impartial, I'm objective, and I understand what you want for you and your family. There'll be times where my advice does not align with what you want for your family. I'll always be honest. I'll always make sure that I'm open about why I'm saying what I'm saying. And you're always entitled to get a second opinion. One of the fantastic services that I offer is a free mortgage capacity report. So you can call me. We'll go through your circumstances. We won't do a credit check. We won't fill in an application. But what I will do is find out how much you can borrow. I'll send you a full report explaining how much you can borrow based on where you are. If it's below where you want to be, I'll explain how to get there and some hints and tips on how to increase your deposit or how to generate additional money by having a side hustle. I'll send you that full report free of charge. And it's really useful because quite often when you have an interview or have a conversation with a broker, everything makes sense while you're talking to them. And then you get off the phone and you're like, oh, what did that mean? So the mortgage capacity report is going to put everything on paper for you. And as you know, I have a book. It's called A Mortgage is a Really Big Loan. And it just goes through just the fundamentals of finance. So I'd really appreciate your support with that. And I make these videos to give you information, not to replace speaking to a professional. I'd appreciate if you share, like, and comment. If there's a topic that you'd like for me to cover off, I'm happy to cover it off. My name's Anthony Lindsay, and I've been in finance for over 30 years. I'm here to help you. I'm here to answer your questions, and I appreciate your time.